Hi guys, it's Debbie, and today I would like to speak about Phantom Thread, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson and starring Daniel Day-Lewis in what he announced as being his last role before retiring from his acting career. Phantom Thread follows the turbulent love story between fashion designer Reynolds Woodcock and a young waitress, Alma. When they first meet, Reynolds is fascinated by Alma's natural beauty and her fun way of being. The two enter what at first is a platonic relationship in which Alma is more of a muse for Reynolds, a new model for his dresses, and which then develops into something much deeper. But over the course of time, the relationship enters a rocky phase as the two characters' completely different lifestyles end up colliding. Reynolds lives in what one could only describe as an elegant, sophisticated, snobbish environment. He is very quiet and reserved, and his only focus is his career, his work as a dress designer. He will not tolerate any interruption or distraction. Alma instead lives a more down-to-earth and relatable lifestyle, and any of her simple and spontaneous behaviours ends up irritating Reynolds. This situation degenerates throughout the story, with the plot touching some much more deeper, darker, intriguing and illogical elements. This film is definitely not what it looks like, trust me. It looks like a fancy, dreamlike film about the power of love in a spellbound castle of lace and frills, and when I had seen the first promotional images and trailers, it had not captured my attention. I had foolishly made the mistake of immediately labelling it as a boring, old-fashioned love story which I or nobody else in the audience could relate to, but I was wrong. So wrong. Phantom Thread is a film which completely outsmarts all of the viewer's expectations and presents a love story and a story about life which is so gothic, so rich in twists. It has so many moments which dig deep into the character's personality that you will stay glued right until the end. I started off this film with a yawn and ended with my jaw open. As you can tell, I'm trying not to reveal too much about the plot. Let's just say that compared to other films, it does not have a fast-paced, action-packed plot with unexpected enemies ex machina, but it does portray all the aspects of a relationship, of life, which we all know are possible, but which many directors will not bring on screen. There are a lot of questions left unanswered, and it leaves us a lot of food for thought about the human nature and the concept of passion. Phantom Thread's main strong points are the two main acting roles, Reynolds Woodcock and Alma, which were absolutely amazing. Daniel Day-Lewis gave us the intriguing and nearly hateful character of Reynolds, with all his frustrating requests and complaints, but which always had us curious for more. Everything about the character of Reynolds Woodcock whispers elegance. There is not one detail about him, from how he eats to how he walks to how he adjusts his glasses, that is naturally clumsy and relatable. And this both frustrates us, but at the same time gets us intrigued, engaged. Many elements of the film on the one hand want to bring us back to a more glamorous era of elegance, but on the other hand they want us to be annoyed by all of this and be more down to earth, because then we have Reynolds' counterpart, Adler, portrayed by Vicky Krieps. I found her acting absolutely amazing. I found her relatable, believable, spontaneous, especially in the scenes in which we could tell her frustration, in which she lost her patience, she started spluttering words, the colour flushed into her cheeks. I found her role very interesting, and I understand that it was probably very difficult to portray, as she represents the dissatisfaction of feeling of not being enough for somebody, or not feeling equal, probably irrationally feeling like just a laughable waitress, out of place in a hostile and snobbish environment like the one in Reynolds lives. So although I agree that there have been many better performances, I still think Vicky Krieps should have received at least some recognition at any of this year's film awards, but she's hardly never even spoken about. And now at the Oscars we have Leslie Manville, which in the film portrays Reynolds' sister, nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I don't understand. If I had to point out something I didn't like in the film, it would probably be the soundtrack, which doesn't just accompany the film, but it drowns it in music. There are many scenes in which the music completely dragged away the attention from the moment. It was just overwhelming, not in a good sense, but altogether I am so pleased I watched this film without giving in to my assumptions. I would definitely recommend watching it. If you have already seen it, let me know what you thought about it with a comment here below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.